creating holistic solutions in Western medicine, solving the problem of addiction. And in this particular segment, we're going to be learning choosing how to choose a specific problem to overcome addiction, how holistic complements modern medicine approaches to addiction, getting the right people on the bus, the board members, accounting staff, how to get grants, and how donors and selling the business create a platform, and then finally how to generate revenue from the inside out. We're going to be listening and hearing about all of this insight from Tara Moreno-Wallen. She's the founding director of Serenity House Communities and owner at Green Tara Holistics LLC. She 8 years as founder and executive director of Serenity House Communities, a grassroots organization with $300,000 in annual budget. She's the founder and CEO of Green Tara Holistics as well, and the developer of Recovery Reiki, a program and author of the Recovery Reiki Manual, Self-Healing and Emotional Mastery and Workbook. And without further ado, we are going to welcome Tara to the summit.
Thank you,
Hi, Tara.
Hi. Thank you so much for hosting this event, and Glorium Technologies, thank you so much for the platform. Walter, very well done presentation. I can identify with a lot of the things that you've said. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share my screen and
Yes.
get started. Yes.
The stage is yours.
Thank you. Please update system permissions to allow screen sharing. Oh no, let's see. Okay, it looks like I'm having some technical difficulties on my behalf.
Yeah, what it might be is on your computer, you have to have your system to allow, I believe, every system, are you on a Mac or PC?
A Mac.
Yeah, with the Mac, I think you got to go into, I think the settings, or maybe someone can put it in the private chat, that you just got to give it permission to allow that, I believe, to upload that.
Okay, so I'm actually not going to share my screen. I'm just going to talk because I know this work inside and out, and I've been living it and breathing it for a very long time.
As a professional speaker, I love it that way.
Okay, great. So Serenity House Communities, I founded the organization in 2015. I saw a need in my community for more of a holistic approach to healing. I was seeing people in my community going to treatment anywhere from 12, 13, 14 times and up to 20. I am a woman in long-term recovery. I've been working on myself for about 15 years. And that was really how this nonprofit was born. I saw a problem. I saw the solution emerge from my own recovery journey, and I had to get it out to the world, to let people know that, you know, this healing path it's very complex. It's very difficult. However, there are approaches that have been suppressed, and we've been too heavy-ended on the Western medicine model. And looking at this problem through a whole approach by using not only Western medicine, but Eastern medicine as well. So Serenity House, like I said, was founded in 2015. Our mission is to advocate for people in recovery. And we provide holistic options for people recovering from substance use disorder, addiction, codependency, and trauma. So we are a recovery community organization, which is a relatively newer type of organization that exists outside of the treatment and detox model. So we are a peer-led organization, meaning that my staff is all in recovery from addiction, and they've overcome those obstacles to be able to share their experience, strength, and hope with the next person. The organization, everyone is trained. They're called peer recovery coaches. They go through certifying organizations through rigorous training. We also help people with their own recovery by meeting people where they are at. meaning that we use a harm reduction approach to healing. We understand that not everyone is ready to quit using harmful substances. We are realistic in that if we can have them stop using heroin, that that is great. It's a great step, but they're using alcohol or they're using marijuana. So we're looking for a harm reduction approach for healing. So with an addiction in and of itself, so as we look at substance use disorder, there's a lot of misconceptions around what it is and how it impacts the human being. So it's been called a brain disorder. It essentially is where the person loses their ability to choose, and they are drawn to this substance or this thing or this person, even. And they cannot stop the negative cycle that this has in their life. What I found through my work, through my own recovery journey, my own healing path, and working with others is that addiction is a layered issue. So addiction is it's the symptom. What we're finding is that if we go deeper into this, that codependency and trauma are really at the root of the malady of addiction. So having unfulfilling relationships, right? Not being able to connect with others. We go for that substance. We go for, the macro addictions, heroin, alcohol, marijuana, all of those, to the micro addictions. And those are things like sugar and our cell phones and anything that doesn't cause massive harm. So what we're looking at right now with the problem of addiction is, and most of us have heard about the opioid crisis, and we are losing about 106,000 people to drug overdoses, and this was reported in 2021. And we saw a significant increase during COVID. So this problem and we're seeing the problem of addiction move. So we have opioids, and now it's moving to methamphetamines with an increase in meth. And then we have this new drug out there called xylazine, which is a tranquilizer, and it's being put in opioids. So these are the problems that we're seeing with addiction, right? Is these drugs will just move for use. So how do we get into the solution of getting to the root cause of this malady? So, with holistic recovery, what does it mean? So, it's really encompassing the individual as a whole person. It includes mind, body, and spirit, right? Looking at the 8 dimensions of wellness defined by SAMHSA in terms of these domains. And if one domain is out of balance, it's going to impact the others because it's all interconnected. With holistic recovery, it's a highly individualized, non medical approach that focuses on bringing the body back into alignment. It's about that really good feeling that we have when we just feel really good. That's alignment. And we want to focus on the disease, not the person. That's really, really important in empowering somebody to make the change for their recovery. So, what are some of the holistic options for recovery that I work within? And there is a plethora of them. There are so many. At Serenity House, what we provide is auricular acupuncture, which is a 5-point protocol for the ear. And these points, which correlate to a meridian system, which is an Eastern medicine theory, that when you insert these tiny hair like needles into these points, what happens is the body begins to self correct or find homeostasis. And what we're finding at Serenity House through data collection through 2022, we saw about a 50% reduction in stress, anxiety, pain, craving levels, and anger levels. And that's huge, right? So the other pieces that we incorporate, and I know Christopher through my introduction, is recovery Reiki, and that is a light touch therapy, and it's actually incorporating the the thought processes of Eckhart Tolle and the New Earth, and how we have these pain bodies. These pain bodies are really what is responsible for us having these harmful cyclical patterns that keep us stuck in the chaos of addiction. So, with the piece of running an organization like this, so through my journey, I realized that core values were something that many nonprofits that I came across maybe had like a poster on the wall, but their business practices or the way they were serving clients or participants did not follow the core values that they had set in place. And as I did this work on my own recovery, I started to evaluate my own core values and what I stood for. What I found is that these core values are the guiding lights for the organization, for myself as I make decisions in my life, as I have these business partnerships, I hire these staff, these new staff members. I really go back to the core values. And when I am mentoring anyone within the organization and they have a problem or a decision they have to make, I immediately go back to our core values. And our core values are reflective of those that we serve and the industry that we're in. And, our number one core value is courage. Because as we move through addiction recovery, it takes a very courageous act to be able to ask for help, to be able to get into a place where you're ready to cease these harmful patterns in your life. The other piece that we follow is perseverance. And we understand that relapse is a thing, is that it's very, very difficult to create a new way of being and to create new neural pathways for a new way of being. So perseverance is also one of our core values. Additionally, authenticity, accountability is huge, making sure that we own our mistakes because lots of mistakes happen in recovery in the nonprofit realm. The other thing is acceptance, accepting the moments as they come, and to be able to keep a calm mind as things happen, as they do, as life happens. And then finally, community. We are showing up for ourselves and each other. With a nonprofit organization, one of the most important pieces that I've learned is getting the right people on the bus. And I've had harsh lessons in this one. And it's all been perfect because I've been able to identify what is not healthy for the organization and what is healthy for the organization. Know that mistakes are just lessons, and they can feel very intensely, and know that that is where looking to your own inner path and your own healing path, if you have one, and knowing that your reactions are going to make or break how you operate within the nonprofit. So, with getting the right people on the bus, in the beginning, so I am the founder, and I would have had a better, and I would have waited a little bit longer to get the right board members on the bus, meaning to make sure that the composition of the board was in place and that I wasn't heavy ended on just having people in the healthcare industry. Having that attorney on the board, having that marketing specialist on the board, so that I could utilize these people and their talent. So the other thing with getting the right people on the bus is you want to get a good accountant. Somebody that you trust, that knows what they're doing, and that knows nonprofit accounting. For profit accounting and nonprofit accounting are different. That accounting piece is something I went through probably about 3 accountants before I finally found the one that we needed to grow our revenue at the organization. And you really want an accountant. And I will also say accountants tend to be the ones I've dealt with, frazzled people. They are dealing with lots of numbers. They're very logic brained. And you really want to find somebody who really likes their job, who likes accounting, who likes numbers, who can sit there and tell you and say, and not if whatever questions you have, they answer those questions, and they don't seem overwhelmed when you're asking these questions. It makes all the difference. The other thing too is policies and procedures. And this was a huge one as I started. And I was like, how do I even find out the policies and procedures that we need? Starting out with the basic policies and procedures, conflict of interest statements, grievance policy and procedure. So having these basic ones in place. But what I will say with policies and procedures is that they will come up, a problem will come up, and that's when you'll find out what policy and procedure you're going to have in place. If somebody, for example, like a service animal policy, and we just had a staff member come and say they wanted to bring a service animal. So those types of things, that's how your policy and procedure manual is formed. The other thing too is making sure that you have proper human resources in place, and having at least a person that understands it, somebody you can call when there's a staffing issue, somebody that knows onboarding, that knows offboarding, that knows how to help you navigate, because people are people and people show up with their stuff. The other thing too is to have a successful nonprofit, we want to make sure that we're measuring our performance and goals. We're very, very, very much invested in our data collection pieces. We have 2 data collection platforms that we use. One is called the Recovery Capital Index, and the other one is called the Recovery Data Platform, where we store all of our demographics, all recovery plans, and all the impact that we're making. Because we're doing holistic medicine, we want to make sure that we capture the data that we need so that people know that what we do works. Our funders know that what we're doing is working, and to make sure those reports that we submit on a monthly basis are superb. And then finally, with nonprofit, the one thing I learned early was diversifying funding. And I had heard a few of the others echo the same thing. And one of the biggest misconceptions with starting a nonprofit is I'm just going to get a grant. And that was also my mindset. I didn't get my first grant, and it was a small community foundation grant of $25,000 until after being the founder of Serenity House, which meant that I was out there hustling, and I was hustling hard. I was hustling to get sponsorships, private donations, Facebook, MailChimp, using everything that I had learned through a pathway that I didn't even take, which was telecommunications is what my degree is in through Michigan State University. And I was able to create a foundation where when these grants end, we can continue on. It's sustainable. I know that fundraising is at the heart of a sustainable nonprofit. Fundraising through those platforms I just talked about, getting a annual sponsorship package in place, talking to people, getting people fired up, making sure that you know your mission statement inside and out, talking about the stories, talking about your story, getting people really, really excited about what you're doing. And then a couple other things that we've done, we have a donor database. We use Little Green Light to keep track of all of our donors. We make sure that we thank our donors, and we have a special thank you system, because gratitude is super huge in terms of recovery and our organization. And another thing I would recommend too is, they're very expensive, but working with a knowledgeable grant writer, somebody who can tell your story, work these sometimes archaic systems that grant writer or grant funders are still using, and to help you navigate the stress, because grant writing is incredibly stressful. And then once you get the grant, and then it's grant management, and then it's the ending of the grant. So nonprofit work is very, very challenging, but if you can stay the course, it is so beautiful to watch it unfold. It is such an incredible, incredible journey that I've been on, and that, if you decide that you want to continue and embark on something through, any nonprofit, specifically addiction recovery, I would just say that perseverance and looking at those core values are so, so, so important. And Christopher, how much time do I have?
You got to bring me. You got here. You still got time. We still have about, I'd say about 7 minutes if you like, but that includes questions and answers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'll say too, in terms of like the holistic path, and marrying the Eastern with the Western, Eastern medicine, it works. I was a news reporter for a period of time. I needed those facts and figures. I needed to know that something worked. I needed to have like this tangible evidence. I will say that when I started the pathway down with holistic recovery, this was what took my life off, and what I've created within my being is peace that I had never experienced before in my life. And such a deep peace amongst all the storms, especially now with so many different things happening in the world, knowing and trusting that I have the power within me to maintain a level of balance and calmness. And that's really what we're entering into as a society. So, all this doom and gloom and all of these things that are happening, they're actually um, a healing crisis, if you will. So, they are showing us where we've been out of alignment as a society. And I will say, as I move through my life and my journey, is that we have the capability to create something new, a new way of being, a new way of thinking, a new way of healing. And, I believe this and I see it every day. The people that come through my organization, I see it in my own personal life, in my own healing journey, and my husband's healing journey. And I know that there's a lot of pressure, but just know that pressure creates diamonds. And that concludes my presentation, Christopher, and I can take any questions from anyone who may have questions.
Thank you so much, Tara. I really appreciate it, and I really respect and honor your transparency. I'm also I've been a re- I've been I was a once I'm recovering addict over it's been over 25 years, and so I can relate on so many different levels. And thank you for sharing. Any questions that we may have? Let's just take a look and see if we have any questions that have come in. And let's just say, for instance, let's see here. Here we go. Got some questions that just came in, Tara. Share an example of an internal revenue aiding addiction services, if there's an example you can share.
So, an internal revenue. So, in terms of So elaborate. Internal revenue aiding.
Well, I guess it's a yeah, an example of an internal revenue aiding addiction services. So somebody, I guess, if there was anything from the outside that you worked with that helped aiding these addiction services that were maybe obviously tracked by the IRS, or you maybe for profit in this case. Maybe it's a for profit organization or that type of thing.
So I can just tell you about kind of who. So we have private donors who are actually in recovery who give personal donations because they have their own stories. Um, One of our donors, we call it an angel donor. He's given us about $20,000 in a matter of a couple of months. Um, so with other revenue streams that are coming through in terms of addiction services. So remember that addiction services are separated right now. So we have treatment,
Hmm.
we have detox, we have prevention, and now we have recovery support services. And what Serenity House does is a recovery support services. It's a relatively new way of looking at addiction, and it's starting to get funded more and more. So we actually have a state grant that we received through the state of Michigan, and it is specifically for recovery community organizations.
Got it.
And tips for integrating holistic approaches in traditional addiction treatment. I will say what I've learned is that you have to have perseverance, and the person that's doing the modalities have to know that they work, and they have to really barrel through a lot of the structures that have put in place that are actually perpetuating the cycle of addiction. So remember I said that people are going to treatment, right? We had one woman 20 times in treatment,
Mm.
right? So what is that saying about our current treatment systems and what we have in place? People will go to treatment, they'll get like maybe 2 weeks. And to be able to change patterns, it takes
It takes a long time. I know that as a coach.
a long time. So really these recovery support services are the solution, because people get out of treatment or they get out of detox and they go home, and then they're right back in their codependent home family, right? Where their parents are enabling, and then their parents are using, or brothers using, or whatever. So really it's about having that system in place that's outside of treatment, that's in the community. We're having sober social events. We're having groups that you can attend any night of the week, based around, living with trauma, multiple pathways for recovery, the AccuDetox group that we have, coming to get some Reiki from a coach, right? Developing a recovery plan. So I hope that made that more clear about.
No, absolutely did. And maybe one more question, if you can share any tips for integrating holistic approaches into traditional addiction treatment.
Yeah, so you really have to have the people that are making the decisions on board. So that requires education. So you need to get your stuff together, know what you're talking about, and go and present, and have the people in charge experience the modalities. That's how I've been able to do it. Because at first I was just trying to impact the people, the participants that needed it. But I needed the people who are making the decisions get on board and know that what I was doing was working.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that. We still have about a minute, just less than a minute. If there's any final word or just something, a high impact statement you'd like to leave what you shared here today with everyone listening.
Yeah, absolutely. So remember that, with the addiction piece, it's everywhere. It's so covert, and it really puts people in a place where a blind spot, they cannot see. To overcome the denial, to overcome these things, it really takes a walk towards the inner world, and to be able to sit with yourself and to be able to start to peel back the layers of the things that have happened to you that are causing you to make the decisions that you're making in your life that are keeping you stuck in patterns you don't want. It's an inner journey, and that inner matches the outer. And it's quantum physics, it's string theory, right? It's the person. When the person focuses on something externally, it actually changes that external reality. I mean, this is an incredible time where science is becoming married with spirituality.
Hmm. Well, Tara, thank you so much for being here and sharing such valuable insight. And again, thank you for being transparent. I always honor that. It's one of my core values. And I love what you talked about values because it's so important in everything that we do in terms of how we connect and relate and understand others, and especially with communication.
Yes, thank you so much, Christopher, and thank you so much, Glorium Technologies.